Hi, I'm gonna make my YouTube video about the BP oil spill, and this is my large schematic, my 3D schematic about the BP oil spill. So the BP oil spill wasn't created, but it was an accident within the company BP, in which one of their oil rigs it had a gas leak and it exploded. This in turn broke one of their pipelines, which was carrying oil, and the oil spilled almost everywhere in the Gulf of Mexico. In this video, I'll pretty much be talking about the cause and effects, particularly the death toll, the mechanisms of the boat that were involved, the rig, and the legislation changes that occurred, and whether or not they were sufficient enough to explain what happened. So, on April 20th of 2010, a gas release and subsequent explosion occurred on the Deep Water Horizon oil rig. That would be this right here. We're gonna pretend that what is it? A bowl as a boat. Yep. It's gonna be really good. I'm sorry. Okay. So when the explosion occurred, 11 people died. We're gonna use that with this little man as our representation of the people dying. So I guess if something dies, I guess I'll put it face down, which is really sad. I'm sorry. It's gonna be also really good. I think I already said that. A fire burned for 36 hours before the rig sank and hydrocarbons leaked into the Gulf of Mexico. The spill was caused by well integrity failure, followed by loss of hydrostatic control of the well. So I guess, in a sense, I will demonstrate a very awkward, yeah. So this is the boat. Whee! It exploded. And so oil, we're gonna use black clothes to cover, sadly, the beautiful creatures. Are you filming me? No, don't film me, film the things. We'll leave that in the video. It's cool. So sadly, all these animals are now covered in oil. And we'll talk about the effects later on. Hopefully I'll be able to find everything. Even... Boopity boop. Okay. Okay. Oh, that's good. Okay. That works. So, as you can guess, a lot of sea animals were affected, and also, I guess it didn't really create outrage until the seafood industries became aware of this problem. Which, again, it's seafood industries, so really, it's almost like a selfish desire to really talk about them. But in which case, the environment was the main victim of this entire cause. To minimize its impact on the environment and human health by containing, removing, and dispersing the oil offshore. And also BP implemented many strategies. 172 million gallons of oil entered the Gulf of Mexico. And as you can probably guess, the faulty blowout preventer for the spill called for stronger regulations of the equipment that prevented oil and gas from rushing to the surface and triggering a spill. The proposed rule would require that blowout preventers in wells have two shear rams which cut through the drill pipe and allow the well to be sealed. So what that means is so imagine this as the pipe that holds the oil on the ship. So two shear rams would mean that there are two rams on either side that would cut the pipe immediately in half and just close the opening. So imagine this is the pipe and my hands are the two shear rams. Like that. Bam. It would immediately cut the circulation through the pipes that the oil would, if there was a hole in the oil, that the oil would escape. So it would immediately cut that off. Annual review of maintenance and repair records would be conducted by government officials due to this new bill. Government-approved inspectors. Additionally, the number of inspectors in the Gulf increased from 55 to 92 in April of 2010. Dolphins along Louisiana's coastline were found dead at 4 times the historic rate from last year. And research has shown that deaths of 12% of pelicans and 32% of species of gull were also found to be deceased. So we'll flip this guy over since he's kind of dead now, which is a little sad. We'll pretend this is a pelican and perhaps this is a gull. So they've been offed, unfortunately. And eggs of many animals have been found to contain oil. So obviously if the oil seeps in, they can't live. And residents of the area surrounding the Gulf of Mexico say oil is still being found on the beach, on private land, and in the water. So we'll put oil all over the coast. There we go. So now people can't swim, people can't enjoy the view. It's just really murky, and if you go past the shore, obviously it gets murkier and animals are dying. There are probably dead animals on the shore that can't survive what with the oil. 8,000 birds, sea turtles, and marine animals were found injured or dead in the 6 months after the spill. So I'm just going to start flipping these guys over. I apologize. Looks like he's going to sleep. I'm tucking him in, but he's already dead. This guy's dead too. This seal is dead. Not sure why a seal is there, but let's pretend he's dead. This guy's also dead. Flip this guy over, he's dead. These guys can remain alive. Okay. So obviously a large chunk of them died. Oil coated birds' feathers, causing birds to lose their buoyancy and ability to regulate body temperature. So obviously you can tell Mr. Ducky here, he has oils covered. He can't really fly any extreme distances, so he's pretty much stuck in this area. And every day he spends in this area trying to look for food. He's being covered with more and more oil. He's eating more animals that are covered in more and more oil. And obviously he just can't live with such like for instance when the temperatures get cold, he gets way more intensively colder. Mammals have ingested oil, causing ulcers and internal bleeding. At the Battery Bay in 2011, dolphin physicals constituted in 17% of the dolphins not expecting to survive.
Doctor, my dolphin was in the BP oil spill. Can you give him a physical?
Well, of course. Ooh, that's tender. Well, I have some good news and I have some bad news.
What's the bad news?
The bad news is your dolphin's going to die.
What's the good news?
Well, the good news is
there isn't any! So, the ending to all this is that, as one would expect, when you look at the BP Corporate Sustainability Report, you can tell that BP is very apologetic if you read it thoroughly. They're just really apologetic at how huge of a incident this was. They had no control over it, and they're trying to make it better. So it's a lot like, imagine if a child was like putting his hand in the cookie jar, and then he incidentally was he had his hand smacked, and his parents told him to go take a timeout for like 30 minutes. And for the rest of the night, he's trying desperately to get back into his parents' goodwill, even though he knows that he's done something wrong, and he'll probably be his parents will always be angry at him for that. And it's like he's trying to climb back to the top. To this day, BP is still cleaning it up, but the damage already has been done, as you can see from this whole schematic. Oil is hidden beneath the surface. You can obviously tell that fossil fuels, in this case, they don't just impact the environment by producing, pollutants, but in this case, they can have a direct effect, just pouring them into the ocean, a substance that doesn't belong there, a substance that's completely foreign in nature. Obviously, you might not think twice about this, given that these are animals, but imagine if your children were to be covered in this oil and if they had these endless disabilities afterwards. Again, even if they were to get the oil from underneath the surface, there are still oil pockets at the bottom of the ocean because oil is denser than water.
Oh my god.